Hello, welcome to www.spicyreads.org. I'm Ed Spicer. In this second video, Katherine Tegen talks about how she got her own imprint. She discusses her journey as a picture book author, and she concludes by discussing some of the new titles coming out in 2012 that teens should look for. Thanks for stopping by.
Katherine Tegen, welcome to www.spicyreads.org. Katherine Tegen Books, a part of HarperCollins. That imprint has your name on it. How does something like that come about?
Editors get imprints in this industry largely because of a track record, and when someone gets known for publishing very good quality books as well as selling a lot of books, because selling, it's really not a crass commercial thing to think about. It means you're reaching your audience. So when people buy your books, that means kids are reading them, which is really exciting. So I like to think of myself as a commercial publisher with a strong sales track, but to me that is not a bad thing. Whereas I think some people might think like that being commercial is not a good thing. I see it as a good thing.
Well, and you talk about being commercial, and your books have sold really well. We can just look at today's bestseller lists and see Divergent and Insurgent right there at the top of the charts, and you've done that with other titles of yours too.
Mm-hmm.
But you also publish things like Flotando en la Canción de mi Mamá.
Sí.
And you've published Illegal, because publishing has a lot of different niche places, and some are very dear to your heart.
Exactly. I have a special place in my heart for Latino fiction because I am a third generation Latino, and that's an important part of who I am, and I know other readers feel the same way. And we all like to see ourselves in books, and we all like to relate to those kinds of characters. So I try to carve out a special place in my imprint for books that may not necessarily sell hundreds of thousands of copies, but that I know are going to reach a certain readership, and that's really important to me.
It's important to me. I volunteer in a Latino library, and while it's not true to say that anybody likes to read just books about themselves, we like to explore the world and open things up. We do need to see ourselves occasionally just for that validation.
Exactly. And a lot of what Latino writers write about are universal experiences.
Yes.
Coming to a new country, that's a universal experience for many, many people.
Illegal is a fine book for my white teen group.
Exactly.
As well as a fine book for the Latino library where I volunteer.
Exactly.
So thank you for doing those. I very much appreciate it.
Of course.
Katherine Tegen, editor for HarperCollins, and then there is Katherine Tegen, author. I'm wondering whether or not your job as an editor causes you problems when you put on the Katherine Tegen author hat.
Actually, it doesn't cause me problems. I think it helps me because since I have spent so many years helping authors to fix their texts, I have a better understanding of what works in the marketplace. And I write picture books, which is quite different from writing a novel. I don't think I could ever write a novel, frankly, and I have great respect and admiration for novelists. But picture books, and especially because I have had young children, picture books, you really need to understand how language is read out loud. And that is something I actually did not figure out until I had children. So for the 10 years that I was in publishing before I had kids, I was publishing all these books that I don't think anybody ever read. And then I had children and I was like, wow, like this is how it should be. This is how it should work. It needs to have repetition. It needs to sound good when you read it out loud, and it has to be short because parents and teachers and librarians do not want to read long picture books. They just don't.
Do editors like working with Katherine Tegen, the author?
Yes, because I need very little revision. And when they say, well, you should change this, I'm like, okay, I'll change it. I'm very easy to work with because I've been on the other end, and I see their point, and it's usually a good idea. I respect my editors. So
Uh-huh.
I'm very easy to work with.
I was just wondering because sometimes they say that doctors make the worst patients,
Right.
etc., etc.
Right.
So I was wondering whether you were a good patient or not.
I'm a good patient. One thing I'm picky about is jacket copy, and I might send that back to my editor. But having written having written many, something called a flap on the inside front cover, having written many of those myself for many years, I think that I'm very good at it.
And your track record speaks for
Yes,
itself too,
exactly.
because and after the cover, probably the next most important marketing piece is exactly that.
Right, it's very true.
Yes.
Especially for older kids, because they do read that copy.
My teens don't need to know about Veronica Roth, but let's use this last remaining time for you to tell them what books they should be looking for from Katherine Tegen Books this fall.
So books coming up that I'm very excited about, for fall 12, we have a great new series called Grave Diggers, Crovatin.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
He did heavy metal and
Exactly.
I loved his book.
And he happens to be a famous literary author's son, Anna Quindlen. And he's just a great guy. And he wrote these he's starting a series that's hilarious. It's called Grave Diggers. The first book's called Mountain of Bones. It's about these kids who get lost on a mountain during a school trip, and they encounter a bunch of zombies who used to be part of a dance troupe. So it's scary, but it's funny. It's a really great book. We have a special collector's edition of Insurgent coming out, so if you're a huge Veronica Roth fan, you might want to get that as a gift for someone. Early in 13, I have 2 series that are ending, which is really difficult for me because I've been working on one of these series, Septimus Heath, for 10 years.
Yes.
And I'm in love with Septimus Heath. It's one of my very favorite series that I've ever published. They are so funny and so clever, really, and the characters are just hilarious. The last book in Septimus is going to be published, and it's called Fire, F-Y-R-E, of course.
Oh, of course.
I also published Michael Grant's Gone series.
A very popular series.
With totally different from
Teens
Septimus.
in My Neighborhood.
Yes, and the last book in that series is also being published, and it's called Light. I have a new series coming from Patrick Carman. This is a new series from Pat that is about kids with telekinetic powers in 2051. So it's just in the very near future, and it's fascinating to see how the world has changed in just that amount of time. So I have another fabulous book coming out, very sci-fi. It's called Mila 2.0, and it's about a teen girl who thinks she's a regular human girl, and then she's in a truck accident, and she gets thrown out of the back of the truck, and when she lands on the ground, her arm is ripped open, and she sees all these tubes and wires hanging out of her arm, and she realizes that she's not a normal being. And the main plot arc of the book is her discovering who she is. She's basically an android with human emotions.
That's going to be big.
I think this is going to be really big, and it's so well written. To me, it's the best of all worlds. It's well written, high quality fiction, but it also has a huge commercial appeal. Pretty Girl 13 by Liz Coley, and this is a disturbing story. It's for older teens, but it's very powerfully written. It's about a girl who was kidnapped and kept in captivity for 3 years.
Abused.
And she was abused.
I started it.
Oh, okay, good. And when she returns home, she doesn't remember where she was. So her mind has figured out how to block all of these memories. And as you read the story, you will understand that these alternate personalities developed in order to protect herself from the disruption of this terrible experience. And that's a debut that I'm extremely excited about. It's powerful and so beautifully written. So those are pretty much the highlights for the next few months.
Okay. Katherine Tegen, thank you so much for appearing on www.spicyreads.org. What a pleasure.
Thank you, Ed. I love you, Ed.
Once again, that was Katherine Tegen talking to us about her work at HarperCollins with her own imprint, Katherine Tegen Books. This is Ed Spicer. This is www.spicyreads.org. Thanks for stopping by.
What did we do that's coming out in 2012?
Well, if you asked me what year it was right now, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you. So.